This is Sky News.
The man accused of placing a fake bomb around schoolgirl Maddie Pulver's neck has waived extradition and will soon be headed to Sydney to face charges. Dressed in a black and white striped prison uniform, Paul Douglas Peters appeared in US District Court in Louisville, Kentucky, telling the judge he would no longer contest being returned to Australia.
The waiver was to get back to Australia and deal with these charges as quickly as possible, because obviously the extradition process can be lengthy, but generally it has one outcome, that the person is going to be extradited. So rather than go through that and exercise all these procedural rights he has, he elected to waive those rights.
Peter's ex-wife appeared upset as she left court.
Oh, you're not going to get any comment from me.
It's expected New South Wales Police will collect Peters in the coming days and transport him to Sydney. Lawyers for the 50-year-old say he plans to plead not guilty. A private funeral will be held for murdered Sydney girl Kaisha Whippet after the coroner's office authorised the release of her remains. Kaisha's natural father, Chris Whippet, visited her bush grave for the first time yesterday and says it is a relief his daughter can now be buried. It's alleged the 6-year-old was murdered by her mother and stepfather last July. Some of the country's biggest mining companies and the industry groups that represent them have dealt the opposition's climate change plan a blow. They've backed Treasury findings that Tony Abbott's plan to reduce emissions by 5% domestically will double the cost. Mr Abbott attacked the government's plan to allow polluting companies to buy some carbon permits overseas as a completely pointless exercise. But Treasury found a domestic-only reduction plan will push the price of carbon permits to $69 a tonne by 2020. Greens leader Bob Brown has met with immigration officials to tackle comments made about asylum seekers. Senator Brown last week labelled some bureaucrats turkeys for telling journalists onshore processing of asylum seekers could lead to social unrest.
These turkeys, they should be out on their ears.
Queensland's Deputy Premier Paul Lucas is quitting politics and won't contest the next election. Mr Lucas says he will step down as Deputy Premier tomorrow, but will continue to serve his local electorate in Brisbane's east until the poll. The election is due to be held in March next year. Mr Lucas says he looks forward to spending more time with his family and working on his health. Qantas workers are going on strike again. Close to 4,000 baggage handlers, ground staff, catering, freight and other transport employees will walk off the job for 4 hours on Tuesday. It's the latest move announced by unhappy workers who are fighting for better pay and working conditions. In March 2009, the union took unprotected strikes in Brisbane, Sydney, Adelaide and Perth, causing disruptions to passengers. The union says the strike next week should cause minimal disruptions to travellers. Overseas now, the leaders of France and Germany have held an emergency phone conference with the Greek Prime Minister as fears grow over his country's ability to pay its debts. All three agreed to remain committed to Greece staying in the Eurozone, while Athens has promised to stick to its austerity obligations. If Athens fails to unlock €8 billion in rescue loans, it could run out of cash next month. Digby Ioane's broken thumb has given James O'Connor his passage back into the Wallabies starting lineup at the Rugby World Cup. The 21-year-old was stood down for the Tri-Nations decider after missing the official squad announcement and team photo. But after starring off the bench in Sunday's win over Italy, O'Connor will fill the vacant hole on the wing against the Irish on Saturday night in Auckland. 2 Gold Coast Suns players have reportedly been detained by Thai police on their inaugural end-of-season trip to the Asian country. Suns vice-captain Campbell Brown and Maverick Weller were allegedly involved in an altercation with 2 other people, including an off-duty policeman on the Thai island where the full moon party is held. It's believed that Brown had gone to the assistance of Weller, who had been provoked by a fellow Australian tourist. The club has confirmed there was an incident, but no further action will be taken by Thai authorities. And a quick look at the weather. Showers in the far southeast and southwest, mostly sunny elsewhere.